You like how I'm waving these around at you? Have you ever wondered why your favorite YouTube influencer uses Smith Cosmetics? Today, we're going to be reviewing the Smith Cosmetics brushes, and we will dive into why people are always using these brushes. Hi, I'm Kendra Morgan Official, and if you're new here, thanks so much for joining me. I like to put out content about makeup brushes, sunscreen, and single eyeshadow tutorials. So if that's something that you like, subscribe to my channel and let's get started. You guessed it, up for review, the Smith Cosmetics brushes, and not just any Smith Cosmetics brushes. The 4 Smith Cosmetic brushes that seem to be in so many beauty influencers' videos. So you might have seen Samantha Ravindal using these brushes, Raw Beauty Christie, Bailey Sarian, famous Jamie G. She's also been known to use the Smith Cosmetics brushes, as well as Brianna Fox. So what makes these brushes so unique? What makes these brushes so awesome? Let's dive into it. The information that I have gathered about Smith Cosmetics is very little. The website really doesn't explain too much about where the brushes are made, how they're made. For all I know, they could be machine made. The price doesn't dictate that so much, and neither does the quality. I think they're probably handmade by craftsmanship artisans, but we don't really get that information given to us like we do on websites such as Hakahodo, Shikahodo, Kyoto, and so on and so forth. You know, the food community, they're really big on telling you what kind of brush hair and how they are made. I asked for these 4 Smith Cosmetics brushes for a Christmas gift, and I was gifted them from a family member, so I was so excited to get them and use them and see just how much better they are than other brushes. Smith Cosmetics can be purchased on both the Smith Cosmetics website and Beautylish. In the United States, they are located in Friends Beauty in Los Angeles, California, Camera Ready Cosmetics in Dallas, Texas, and Alcone, New York. There are a few places in Canada that they are available, and I also believe they are a Canadian company, but I'm not 100% sure where I read that because I didn't read it on the website. You like how I'm waving these around at you? So the name behind Smith Cosmetics, Smith stands for skilled craft person or artisan who works at something specified. So Smith being a specified work, and then Smith Cosmetic, or they have defined cosmetic Smith, is a skilled craftsman using creativity and expertise to forge professional beautifying tools and solutions. And this phrase was coined in 2014 by Smith Cosmetics themselves. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot of information that's given about the types of brush hairs or anything else. So without any further ado, let's get started. I'm gonna go just increasing order. I have the Smith 230, the Smith 232, the Smith 235, and lastly 247 for review. These are the 4 blending brushes that I see used the most, probably mostly because they're blending brushes. Smith Cosmetics has a brush set that you can purchase, and it's like $465, $485, I think. So if you wanted to purchase the whole set, it would be $400 and some odd US. The brushes individually, these 4 brushes are $27 a piece, US dollars. I don't know what they would be in Canadian. I didn't put the conversion in. So you'd have to look that one up. Okay, let's start out with the Smith 230. Voila, I have it here. It's described as a quill crease brush small, and it is the highest quality soft natural goat hair. And I did some fancy camera work earlier on, and I tried to get close-ups of the brushes, and so you guys could see the hair. So I'll just stream that through that secondary film. I'll roll that while I talk about this. But one thing that I did notice on the brush hairs is that they are not as soft as my Rephr brushes. And I know that Rephr is just a dip into the Fude world, and it's not really considered Fude quality brushes, but I have to say that the Rephr brushes are way softer. Also, the consistency of the pile of hair. So like if I splay this out and show you guys the hair close up, you would see that there's some hairs in here that are thicker in density than some of the other hairs. The next brush that I have is the Smith232. It is described as the Quill Crease Brush Large. Its larger pointed tip makes it ideal for strong crease colors and larger eyes. I find this to be a really good blending brush to go back in over the eye color after you've put some color on the lid and washed it in. It just gives a little bit more, you know, it takes that blend just a little bit further. The Smith235 Flat Quill Crease Brush. It's the closest in representation of the MAC 217, but really doesn't at all look like a MAC 217. It's a more of a hybrid version. Its tapered tip and flat design allow it to fit into any crease shape and blend out evenly against the harshest lines when used vertically. So when placing it vertically, you can blend and then you can apply color on the lid or outer V if you want to use it on its belly of the brush. The last brush I have for review is the Smith247, and much like the 235, it's a flat crease blending brush. It is flat, rounded tip, fits into any crease size and blends easily for a variety of finishes from natural to editorial. For this look today, I did go ahead and use these brushes, and I first started with the Smith230 and blended my crease transition shade into the crease just a little bit. Then I took a deeper color and with the Smith230 just added a little bit more definition to that outer 1/3 of the crease and put some more shadow into the crease and just further deepened it. With the 235, I added the shimmer shade. Now, I know these are all blending brushes, so technically you really wouldn't add a shimmer with a blending brush, but I did want to show how it does give a nice wash of color to the lid. If you wanted to use this brush for shimmers, you can. It just adds a really soft bridal look, very natural, nothing editorial whatsoever, and you can add a nice wash to the lid. Lastly, with the 247, I went ahead and got a little bit more detailed, took a deep, rich chocolatey brown, and I added it to the outer V, and then I did also put a little bit underneath the lash line as well. So just kind of give you guys a little bit demonstration about how the brushes work and operate. Now for the review portion. Let's talk about these brushes and why they cost so much. Basically, I can't really figure it out other than they are handcrafted. They don't say where the brushes are made. They don't really say what type of hair or material is being used. They do tell you that the ferrules are copper. They tell you that it's the finest quality goat hair. Now, what to them is finest quality, I don't really know, because again, like I've mentioned in some of my other videos, like my Chinese artisan brushes versus my Fude brushes, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll go ahead and link my favorite brush review up in the eye and down below for some Chinese artisan brushes that I really highly recommend. The quality of hair differs from artisan to artisan. It's not really like you can just say the highest quality and everybody knows that it's this type. It's really subjective. In saying something like that, they're being very vague. The website doesn't really say a whole lot, so my guess as to why it costs so much would probably be, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, we see a lot of beauty influencers using these brushes. Do I see a lot of makeup artists using these brushes? No. I've watched my fair share of makeup tutorials with client makeup tutorials on how they use the brushes, and never once do I ever see makeup artists using Smith Cosmetics brushes. That's not to say that they don't. I'm sure there are artists out there that use them. Another observation that I made when using these brushes, I took them out of the cellophane and I started using them right away. They felt great. They were soft. They blended out beautifully. And then after the first wash, it looked like my hair after I wash it. It was everywhere. What's left of my hair. I think that the quality is probably not as high as Food lovers would classify it. So my guess is that they probably have a large influence and following. If you go and look at their Instagram page, they're largely targeting makeup artists. The quality doesn't really match the price tag. So my 3 brush classifications, or the classification, the quality with respect to price, and the performance. So let's talk about classification. How I would classify these brushes. I would probably classify them in luxury. They're not a price point that a normal average consumer would choose to spend, and I'm not even sure a brush lover would choose to spend this kind of money because there isn't really a whole lot of background information on the brushes. If you don't know what I'm talking about with my brush classifications, I'll link that in the eye and down below. You can take a couple minutes, go watch it, and find out that I classify these in the type 3 brushes or luxury brushes. They're definitely a price point that's higher than most people would be willing to spend on a brush. They do boast some really nice features to the brushes that I'll get into in just a moment. Quality with respect to price. I would say the quality meets my expectations. I really find these brushes to be really hard workhorses. What I mean by that is they're not necessarily the softest brushes that I own. Definitely eye-catching when I use them in my tutorials, or at least I think so, or in anybody else's tutorials for that matter. But they don't really, they're not the traditional black and silver handles. They don't have some vermilion handles. They don't have that kind of stuff. And like I talked about before with the hairs, they're not necessarily the softest or the best hair, and the pile of hair is not necessarily consistent throughout the brush head either. They do have the copper ferrule, and then their wood, they don't actually say what kind of wood, but they do state that they have an antimicrobial coating over the top of the wood. They meet my expectations, don't necessarily exceed my expectations. Lastly, performance-wise, I find that the brushes actually excel in performance. Don't ask me why the brushes, they just really fit in your hand really nicely. I think it has something to do with the tapered handle. They're very lightweight. They don't have any extra bulkiness, no extra weight. They're very slender, and this part here is, kind of tapers out, and then it slowly begins to taper ever so slightly in. So performance-wise, actually these brushes work really nicely. The next thing that I noticed performance-wise is that these brushes are extremely unique in shape. This brush, although it looks really common, just the density of hair, the way that they put the pile together, I've never had another brush blend like this brush. And that's where I think Smith Cosmetics stands out above the rest. Do I think that they're worth the price tag? Ultimately, I have to say yes. If you're a brush collector, which I'm gonna have to be assuming that if you're watching this video, if you're a brush collector, these are definitely additions to your collection like none other that you probably already have. But I do own a couple that are handcrafted by Japanese artisans. As well as that, I do own some brushes that are handcrafted by Chinese artisans. And I'm quite well aware of the quality that is out there for these types of brushes, and I do note that these brushes right here really boast that quality of craftsmanship. So with that being said, the performance exceeds my expectations. Wrapping this up, guys, these 4 Smith Cosmetics brushes can be seen in some of your favorite beauty influencers' makeup tutorials, and for good reason. They really perform. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you like it, make sure you like it on your way out, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And guys, I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye!